Hey, welcome back to Songs and Stories from an Animated Mind. I'm Steve Belfer. Today I want to tell you the story behind one of the first pieces of music I wrote for SpongeBob. It's called Gator. If you saw my other episode about seaweed, these two songs were created during the exact same recording session, before the show had even premiered. Steve Hillenburg had asked me to write, a handful of musical cues for this little strange cartoon he was working on. And I went home with my guitar and I had a slide and I came up with some ideas. At the time, I didn't know a whole lot about the show, and I knew it was about the water. And I wasn't thinking under the ocean specifically. So when I came up with this tune, I pictured something a little above water in a swamp, an alligator. And I wanted the song to have a sense of danger. This was one of my cues where it had a little uh-oh kind of feeling in it. So that's where the name Gator came from. It came from the chomping teeth. The music starts with this playful little pattern. It kind of goes up, and then it comes back down. To me, it sounded like somebody happily wandering along or exploring. But then every so often the music goes do-do-do-do-do, kind of like uh-oh. There's you better watch out, and then it kind of goes do-do-do-do, and it wraps up again. That was really the whole concept, and the rest is just variations on that theme. Animation music has a job. It's to give you a feeling and to help tell the story but not get in the way. So I imagine the characters exploring and having fun and then suddenly realizing something unexpected was about to happen. And one thing I think that helped this cue work really well is that it sits musically in this place where it doesn't interfere with the talking. And this music is in a different frequency band. So the characters can keep on talking and the music adds this personality, but it's not competing with the voice. I don't know if I was consciously thinking about that at the time, but looking back, I think that's one of the reasons it worked really well. And the guy that recorded it, Dave, he knew a lot about film and stuff, so he probably mixed it with that in mind. Now here's this funny little side story. Back when Steve Hillenburg and I were students at CalArts, a few times we would go to this swap meet in Orange County and look for junk to maybe build kinetic sculptures with. One time I bought this taxidermied piranha and a little model airplane, and I turned it into this battery-powered flying fish sculpture. It didn't fly, it was a concept. But the same vendor, he had these little taxidermied baby alligators. Kind of creepy, and this is definitely not something I wanted to own, but the image stuck in my head. So this experience, it's kind of surreal how art imitates life, but later on, do you remember the first SpongeBob movie, how the characters wind up all like shriveled up in this gift shop and there's taxidermy animals and seashells and stuff? It was like that. So years later, when I was naming this little musical cue, I think that memory came back and I called it Gator. And when I turned in the tape, Nickelodeon selected 3 of these pieces. The SpongeBob theme, which eventually became the SpongeBob ending, seaweed, and Gator. Now, these 3 cues have been heard millions of times now over the years. And it's amazing to think that something that I came up with has become part of the musical identity of the SpongeBob universe. If you're interested in the story behind seaweed, I've got a whole episode about that one too. And if you'd like to hear more stories about writing music for SpongeBob or animation in general, leave me a comment. I do read every single one. Thanks for watching. I'm Steve Belfer, and I'll see you next time.